What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Crossover Commerce. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is my corner of the internet where I bring the best and brightest Amazon and e-commerce experts in the industry to your earbuds or to wherever you might be watching or listening from. We're going to bring actionable insights and some thoughts and conversations to you with different topics of conversation. It can be anything from logistics and sourcing to advertising and marketing to international expansion. This podcast ranges all over the place. But that being said, just want to give a quick shout out to our presenting sponsors, PingPong Payments. PingPong has been helping international sellers keep more of their hard-earned money by sending and receiving international payments in the localized currency. What does that mean? That means that you no longer have to pay fees to Amazon or any other marketplace that are set in stone by those entities. You can now have more access on what you're receiving in those transaction funds and keeping more of your hard-earned money. Everyone wants to put money towards actionable insights, actionable things like your inventory or buying more goods or being able to afford more employees or just paying out your VAs or pay yourself something. You can do that. And PingPong is one of those ways to help save more time, money, and effort. So go ahead at usa.pingpongx.com/podcast, and you'll be able to check out all of our past episodes, but also sign up for a free account today. That being said, again, this is episode 185. We're cruising right along, trying to get on pace for 200 by the end of 2021. So bear with me. We're going to have a lot of content coming your way here in the next couple days. If you're watching this live, you know that you can comment on the social media comment sections, whether it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Let us know where you're listening from, or if you want to just say hi to myself or our guest, you can do that there. If you're listening to us, you can just comment in the show notes below. That being said, this year's been kind of crazy. I know this week is Thanksgiving. Traditionally, yesterday is, I want to say, the third largest shopping holiday in a typical year, right? Largest shopping day, I should say, of the year, because people are thinking about Thanksgiving, which means Black Friday, which means people are freaking about Christmas. It kind of trickles on itself. So it's been a busy weekend for lots of e-commerce sellers, retailers. You might have seen a lot of ads drop, a lot of different things happening. But as any entrepreneur goes, it's nice to be present now, but looking to the future, you want to start planning for the next year. And a lot of people, if you're smart enough, looking at that 2022 schedule and saying, that's not far away. What are our goals, ambitions for the next upcoming year? And that's what we're going to be talking about today with our friend of the podcast. She hasn't been on for a while, I think actually since episode 100. But she's been doing lots of amazing things in the time since we last talked. Jana from YLT Translations is hopping back on Crossover Commerce. And we're going to be talking about international marketplaces and what to expect in 2022. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring her on back to Crossover Commerce. Without further ado, fresh off from being Jana from YLT. Jana, what's up? How are you?
It's always good to be back on your show. I've been good. I've been busy. Honestly, Q4 has been less busy than last year, which is not so, puzzling why.
Right.
But yeah, definitely things are going good. And I'm looking forward to Christmas holidays and just, taking some time off and getting ready for 2022. As what we discussed is going to be very exciting and most amazing year, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's busy. First and foremost, again, congratulations on the marriage, and you guys are, running two separate businesses. Been actually touring around. I say touring around. You're not a band, but you guys are traveling around quite a bit in terms of conferences and businesses. What's that been like? Kind of like since we last talked. Have you had a favorite conference or some awesome takeaways that have changed your business or mindset or anything like that since we last touched base?
Right. Well, last year has been very interesting for us because even though we are based in Europe, we could travel to the States, unlike most of other Europeans. And so I was really, really, really blessed to have that opportunity. And that was like one of the first times in my life when I was actually grateful to have a Serbian passport. Because for the past, 20, 25 years, we would have to have like visas wherever we traveled. And now, like, the tables have turned and we could travel to the States. So basically, like last year was like mostly in the States. So everything related to, business happening out in the States, we were there. That was very awesome. Like I kind of grew close with like so many people, and we went to so many different events. And definitely the highlight of my last year when it comes to like speaking, gigs and showing myself in the business and appearances was definitely the Prosper Show. Ever since I started this business almost 3 years ago, I've had like this goal in mind to like speak and prosper like one day, just like, like what Danny McMillan says. He says like, it's like going to the Oscars. Like this is like what prosper is. And that's what it was for me. So I was very honored to be invited to speak on stage there. And definitely prosper was very intense. It was very action-packed event, especially because of the after parties and all aggregators just trying to outdo every a single night was like something better.
You said yes a lot, right?
More yes, like more unique, better, who's gonna throw more money at the party and stuff like that. So it came like with additional level. It leveled up a lot, to say the least. That this was not like Amazon events were not like this like 2 years ago. So definitely people up their game when it comes to that, and especially because when it comes to content and stuff like that. And I was just super happy I could actually network and see real people and hang out with people in groups and like enjoy myself and have drinks, because like back home in Europe everything was basically locked. So I was really happy about that. And just being part of the US scene is much different than what the scene is like in Europe. And also you have like access to like much more people, and it was definitely super rewarding experience. One of the best things was that I definitely could get closer with a lot of people from the industry that I now call like really good friends and best friends. And I'm just really happy about that, because I think we have like a really great community, and people like help each other. They're like super nice, and I'm just really happy that I'm actually part of it. So 3 years ago, I could not even imagine that something like that would be, possible. Like going to this, like now in London, going to all these like Christmas parties I'm invited to. So it's just good time to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I was going to say entrepreneurship seems like it's really become the forefront, especially on online businesses, services, things like that. It's more important than ever. And
Yeah.
we talked about this in the past a couple episodes. Is a lot of people have been constantly I feel like 2021's been like a whiplash, right? Like constant changes, little tweaks here and there. It's almost like death by about 1,000 paper cuts of there's another change. What does that mean for people? There was, I believe even on Friday, it was the official update or announcement that TOS was going to change for launching products and different things like that, where a lot of people speculated, and it's going to happen the day after Christmas or after Thanksgiving, which is again very strange timing of what they're going to.
Yes, very weird timing, and it's interesting that they decided to update TOS like right now after not having it updated in like forever. And not that they haven't made like these like big changes. And I just read today that people are still wondering like what's like happening with like super URLs, because like previously there was like an information about like an Amazon employee on a forum basically saying all of these things about like rebate keys, like search by file, like everything that manipulates ranking, and super URLs. So super URLs, that's like something that I've mentioned for the first time ever. They were like never banned, or there were like no talk about super URLs. And then this new updated TOS doesn't mention anything about super URLs. So I'm just kind of wondering, because like, like the TOS is, of course, it's open for interpretation, and it doesn't necessarily mean that this is what it looks like. Well, maybe if we, put it this way, but then, people are also going to try to find, the way behind, or, just to surpass some things. But definitely big what they're saying about the search, find, buy, because literally I think every Amazon seller has been doing it this or that way, also affecting, service providers who offer the service. And I mean, I think it's really good that Amazon wants to fix this and like stop manipulation of any kind. So I think that's actually good that they're doing good things for sellers. I just kind of see maybe, in the future that like Amazon is going to ban everything that like the third party is doing. So like that sellers could only use like Amazon stuff, such as like how they launched that growth opportunity. What's it called? Not the growth. I always forget the name. The tool that Amazon launched for product research, for instance, like
right, the opportunity finder.
Opportunity finder. They called it like opportunity growth or something like that. That's like
Something
their
like
tool.
that.
And they launched it, and that's like something that, like, for instance, like Helium 10 like offers as well. So like I'm just curious to see like what else is going to be enrolled from Amazon like in the future, and how far they're going to take all these like rules, and if they're going to update TOS anytime soon again. And it's very interesting to see what's going to happen.
Absolutely. So your initial take is like just kind of wait and see how that's going to affect. Because I think something like this actually has wider ranging effects for lots of different service providers, but also sellers too. Because if you're launching new products, you're trying to just put more product in market. This really creates it creates a fog or a barrier of what is the appropriate way to now launch new products and get exposure on Amazon. Is it only through, again, a lot of people are leaning on now micro influencers or influencers in general, or ads like through TikTok, or like through different ways of driving traffic to your listings and having that outside traffic source. So again, not really a clear picture of what Amazon's trying to present to sellers as this is the opportunity for you as a seller to now be effectively launching and getting exposure on Amazon. So,
and what's really interesting when you mentioned TikTok, and since we're going to talk about like 2022, what's going to be really big, and I think it's going to be like completely like game changing, is shopping like inside of TikTok, like a TikTok store, not like an Instagram. And it's not actually like an Instagram store. Like you can like kind of buy and scroll and stuff like that, but like TikTok is going to have like a special platform for that. And I think that shopping like inside of TikTok is going to be major, also because like when it comes to TikTok, it's a common misconception that only kids use TikTok. And actually, it's like females, like 65% of the audience are females. This is like information directly from the source, from the TikTok. So 65% of the platform's users are females, and they're aged from 18 to 30. So if you're having like beauty products or anything that's gonna, it's your target group, you should definitely go on TikTok and just gonna do it. And a lot of people don't even know how it works. Like there are like tons of ads. Like you don't have to only use like influencers and like create like attention grabbing videos and stuff like that. Of course you can't do that, but there are like tons of like ads and different opportunities how you can like get to reach to your audience. And what's very interesting for TikTok is that they have a unique audience, which means that the audience that's on TikTok is nowhere to be found. They're not on Facebook. They're not on Instagram. They aren't anywhere. They're like only on TikTok, and they want to spend money. According to their research, the shopping spree of like a random TikToker and their financial, their financial power, and shows that they will spend more money than an average Facebook or Instagram users. So that's
it's driving significant trends too for not just Amazon sellers, but just
for the
general.
Keywords. Yeah, exactly. Like, if you check like the keywords, like in brand analytics, they would be influenced by what's trending on TikTok. And I remember there was like, I know like a lot of people wrote about that, but I also was looking for something. It's like you take your pants or something and then you cut it somehow so it fits, you make it into a bra or something like that. And it's kind of cool, like when you're sleeping, whatever. I don't even want to get into that. But just like, I remember seeing that in brand analytics as being like a top search term of like that sort of thing that's like now being sold on Amazon, which you can like make yourself. It's not available like to be sold on Amazon. So, and that kind of influences this. So basically TikTok trends and whatever they're doing, it's actually influencing like the whole e-commerce space, which is absolutely insane.
That's the thing for it's going into 2022. I feel like when we were kind of going through what we learned this past year, it's almost, you have to like sit down and go month by month of all the different things that changed in terms of marketing, in terms of outside traffic, and what you can do, what you can't do. and what that future looks like. I think it's just painting a whole new, not difficult, but almost a Amazon's trying to cut down like some of these. If you're a big Loki fan, it's like cutting off these external, like going off this one major path, right? Of not wanting these branches to occur. And now they're trying to cut down on and have this mainstream of keep it consistent, let the product essentially hopefully do be featured. But again, competing with big time brands, a lot of people with lots of money, that competition of how do you stand out. There's been lots of great theories in what the future can look like. And that's just really hard for a small to medium sized business owner of saying, how can I stand out if I don't A, have the money, B, just know how to do it now appropriately. So all these different things are tools that essentially are there and they're still okay by Amazon. And driving outside traffic is
Yeah.
like, it's very tough to know, like as a small medium sized business owner, of you hear one thing and then it changes the next month and then you have to sit down and figure out your whole entire plan. Was that what some of your customers are telling you too? It's hard to understand of, do I expand to these markets, or do I stay pat in Amazon.com, or what are those conversations like for you, saying, hey, it's so difficult to understand a whole new language, let alone all the new rules and resources that I have to understand. I'm just going to stick with .com and be okay with
Right.
that.
Well, you know what? Like .com has been it has become a fearless jungle for a lot of sellers where not a lot of them can survive. They got eaten by other animals, honestly, and it's been like a really big jungle with tons of rules, actually. So a lot of people just think, like, well, I don't think I can fight anymore. I'm just gonna go and like, go back and just maybe, rethink my resources. Just gonna, just do something else, and then that's when they decide to expand, because they're like, well, maybe I could like, get more sales in a different marketplace with still my best selling products. And I don't have to, be afraid of so many different rules and like things that will change overnight and stuff like that. So when it comes to like, Germany or maybe some other European marketplaces, they do not enforce the rules so quickly and they don't change them so fast as they do for the US, like Amazon. For instance, like the latest, what happened is like that Amazon will stop taking UK visas, like credit card visas.
Yep.
From Amazon sellers and others. You cannot use it for business anymore, and that sucks like a lot. So you can still use, like,
I believe Visa is the number one card carrier in the world.
Yes, you can still use the debit Visa card, but you cannot use the credit card. And that's because I just read about it today, because it was like, why did they just gonna do it? Like, why do they want to, like screw the whole English population? Like, what's this, like something personal? Like Amazon in the UK. And then basically what happened is because UK is not no longer part of Europe. So post-Brexit, since they're not European Union anymore, the fees for Visa have gone up like crazy high. And Amazon decided they don't want to do anything without like crazy big fees. And then they're like, no, your cards are canceled. But you can still use like Visa debits and MasterCard. But the majority of the population, I think, everywhere in the world uses credit cards like Visas and MasterCards. So I'm like really curious to see, like, is this going to affect like MasterCard as well? What's going to happen? Like maybe like the UK, it will end up with just, users having to use the debit cards instead of all the credit cards. So that's just it's a major deal for the beginning of 2022 as well. So I think that's going to, be a little bit uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Well, last time Amazon did this too, it was a squeeze. Ultimately it's to get the fees down, right? That Amazon has to pay per transaction. And that makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any small to medium sized business owner, that's why you say you have to have a minimum threshold of spend in order for it to make financial sense. Same with Amazon. They have to still pay the processing fees just like everyone else. It's great because they do so much business that those fees, they add up quickly. So like you said, if it's higher in UK versus the rest of European Union, I'm assuming that Amazon slid a number across the table, said this is what we pay everywhere else, this is what we want to pay here. And we won't accept it any otherwise. And probably Visa within the next, I'm assuming this next week, if they can't accept it on Amazon right now, shoppers can't use Visa on one of the more popular marketplaces, if not the most popular marketplace in the UK during Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all
Exactly.
those different things. So again, the squeeze is on of negotiate those rates a lot better. Amazon's probably going to win in the next day or two, and then we'll be back to square one. So again, it's the power of do you want to like go away from this very big money printing machine, or do you find a supplemental area? And if there's ways to do that, I know lots of people are looking at marketplaces of, hey, if I get shut down in the US for one reason or another, my listing gets suspended, I have inventory issues, I can still rely on Amazon.de or Amazon UK or different marketplaces in general. There's a lot of different opportunities.
Yeah, and we've seen, like, of course, like a decrease in the UK sellers who want to expand to Europe, and from, let's say, like sellers from Germany or like from the US, most of them like would go to Europe now, not necessarily UK as well. Like earlier, it was like UK was mandatory, especially like for the US sellers because of the language and of course everything. But now there's been a certain decrease in the numbers of those who want to do that, which is absolutely justified because of the inventory problems and absolutely everything going on. So yeah, I'm like really curious to see like in 2022 what's going to happen. And when it comes to like new Amazon marketplaces, talking about like Sweden, Poland, and a lot of sellers want to go to Turkey now as well. Like Sweden, Poland we haven't still seen any like, any amazing sales. Sellers are getting some traction. There's like some certain sales, but they're not, those marketplaces haven't reached their potential yet. So like, if you expect sales and if you expect to like, I don't know, like triple your revenue going to like Poland, which is an amazing marketplace, like I would not get my hopes up right now. And also like what happened like with the Amazon Netherlands, like so for the whole first year, like Amazon hasn't rolled out PPC for them. So like as soon as they have rolled it like a year later, they have surpassed bol.com, which was like the dominant marketplace in the country. And then people start getting some sales, but I kind of feel that a lot of sellers were kind of disappointed, and then now they're like, I don't know if I want to do this marketplace or not. But when it comes to Sweden and Poland, I'm like really curious to see like what happens next year, because I think that like for instance like Poland, which also has a perfect position to sell to other countries also like in Europe, because like other countries that don't have their own Amazon, like Norway or
Denmark
or like Scandinavian countries, Finland, and like tons of other countries in Europe, especially the ones that are not EU, they are going to be redirected and they're going to buy from like Germany or from Poland and from elsewhere. And Poland has like this central location side of Europe. And for many years, even before Amazon, Poland has been like a really interesting location for big brands to have their warehouses over there because of the logistics. So in Poland, it has like 12,000 online stores. It's like Allegro is like top 10 marketplaces, like right after like Tmall and Shopee, which are like top like 10 marketplaces in the world. So I foresee a really, really great future for Poland, definitely. Especially when you see like Zalando, like also like top marketplaces in Europe, they also expanded to Poland and Sweden last year. So there's got to be something that's like really interesting with those countries. So I will definitely keep an eye on Poland and Sweden. I think big things are coming for them. Like I know like DSP has become available for Sweden as well. So I just think that like next year is going to be awesome. And I think that more marketplaces will be enrolled next year. I'm really interested to see like what's going to happen for like with South America, like the marketplaces over there. I think that could be absolutely huge. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen next year, and I've heard things might start moving on that side of the map. So that would be really interesting. But I would definitely keep in mind on expansion in that way. If you want to stay like on Amazon, if not, like I'm heard, that Walmart has been like doing even better than Amazon for this beginning of Q4, that they've had like some insane, like they have like, I think they kind of doubled or maybe even tripled their their revenue, like when it comes to marketplace and people who sell on Walmart. So I think Walmart is like very, very trending. I know Tim Jordan's been talking about that a lot. So yeah, I think definitely like expanding elsewhere will be very dominant in 2022 as well, because ever since COVID, it literally skyrocketed. And we've been working with like a lot of brands like that, I don't know, selling Sephora, CVS, that haven't ever thought of like, selling online. But after COVID and everything, they had to kind of, put it all in their online presence. So, and they decided to go to other international marketplaces, which I think it's absolutely amazing. And what I would also like suggest people to do is like, just go to brand analytics and see what people are looking for at these marketplaces. Because, like, for instance, like in Germany, like you have like portable AC, for instance, which is like, maybe like if you check brand analytics, like it's like 1,000 something like frequency search term. But in Germany, it's like top 10. Because like, there are no like built-in ACs in Germany because it was never this warm as it was earlier. So people are really struggling to, cool off during summer, and they really want that portable AC that you're maybe not, selling that well in the US because people don't need it. But in Germany, this could be like potentially like a hot product. So like what I would do is like I would definitely go to brand analytics and like, check like the first 50 or 60 search terms and be like, okay, interesting. And then you can compare the competitors and everything. Like you can go to like BuyBox and Helium 10 or like Cerebro, whatever you want to do. And with a little like research, you can see like if you have a good potential for a marketplace. Maybe you're struggling in the US, but maybe you'll be dominant like in Europe and some other marketplace, or maybe Japan or UAE or Mexico. There are like so many different options for you. But whatever you do, I would always suggest having like a business plan. And when is the right time to expand? Well, not if you have like one product and you're just gonna start it. So you just want to like dip your feet in another country. Like don't do it like that. Like we usually work with like 7-figure sellers and up who are like already established and maybe who literally did everything they could, and now they want to kind of expand elsewhere and like to see if they can do better, or just super successful brands are just like amazing and they just want to do amazing on other marketplaces as well. So I strongly suggest that you try to see like, how well your product will be doing on another marketplace. The PPC costs and everything, you can do it. You can do that like by yourself. Your VA can do it as well. It's not like you have to, do what, and it's not overly complicated. So I would definitely suggest 2022 as being also like very trending in international marketplaces. I mean, our business has also skyrocketed like in the last year and a half. Which just shows how many people want to expand, to other places and see potential in that. The only problem could be, of course, with the inventory and the shipping. But what I've noticed that sellers now do is like when you have the inventory in the UK, you want to ship it to Europe. Let's say you want to ship it to Germany because that's the biggest marketplace and everybody wants to be there. You just ship it your goods not like to Germany directly, but you ship it through Netherlands, and it takes about two weeks for the products to reach your warehouse in Germany, and you don't have to have like the different entity or VAT whatever like for Dutch. It's just literally like traveling like this. So that's a small hack that sellers are using that seems to be working still.
You brought up a good point that I always ask when people ask me when's the right time to move international, and I like the notion that says it's up to you. It depends on how comfortable you feel. There's not a metric or there's not a point at which you've reached as a seller, right? I'm assuming that's what you tell people is it depends on when you feel comfortable selling on multiple marketplaces. That's when the right time is to do it, whether it be time, money, effort, having the right partners in place, like you guys for clearly translations, PingPong for obviously accepting international payments, things like that, where it makes complete sense. And figuring out logistics, I think that's the biggest caveat of can you get enough inventory to these locations? But again, it doesn't have to be a 1-to-1 ratio. It could be 10% of your inventory that you have in the United States or a different marketplace, or it could be 20%. Really just is a dipping of the water.
There are not like no rules, but I mean, I would say that rule of thumb is that, of course, I agree, like whenever you're ready. But, if you are like selling, if you're kind of new seller, or if you maybe like selling this one product and then you're like, usually if you have one product or maybe two products, like don't go internationally. I don't think it's worth it, because I don't think if you are not like doing like a lot of numbers on these two products, I wouldn't suggest that as being a good idea to scale at that point and go abroad. honestly, because I don't think you'll have like enough of the revenue and everything, and it's a long process. Like VAT numbers takes forever, and you just really need to have the logistics and everything to take care of all of that.
Right. You need to feel comfortable and make sure that you're profitable and you're
Yeah,
doing well in-house with your initial marketplace, and then
yeah,
go from
exactly.
there. Very cool. So you were talking about your growth in the past year and a half too. I'm curious for your insights. Is that growth from sellers outside the United States selling into the United States, or is that in the United States as Amazon.com and they're moving outward? Where do you see the most that people are asking for help at?
Yeah, definitely US sellers who want to expand to other marketplaces, and that's to Europe. So we have most work is Europe related, like top 4, 5, 6, or even all 7 European marketplaces. And then it's Mexico and Canada. That's how it goes for the sellers. I mean, a lot of sellers that want to sell in Mexico, they don't contact us. They're just gonna do it themselves. So that's why I think that it's not like in top like 3.
Right, for you guys,
But
yeah.
yeah, but when it comes to like other marketplaces, definitely Europe is still number 1 when it comes to US seller who wants to expand to international marketplaces. UK, Germany, and France are still top 3 marketplaces that people expand to. And I just cannot just, help but wonder, why are still people doing so much of the machine translation and stuff like that? Because like, if your content is worthy to you, like in English, like if you're like, wow, I have to have good content because I can sell my product, why don't you have the same relationship with content in other languages? Because those content in other languages should be equally important to you as it is like on the US marketplace, because people will read it and it should make sense and it should have keywords, but people still don't think that way. So it kind of really makes me upset every time I'm like, but it's still content. It's just in different languages. Like you really have to kind of, perfect it, and it has to be done, good, because you don't want to have like a copy that doesn't make much sense to people who sell it. And people in Europe, not everyone speaks English. I know this is, like mind blowing for a lot of,
Wow.
English speaking, big English speaking population. But, like in Europe, like every second or third person, they don't speak English. And those who speak, they're not super proficient at it. And when they buy products, if they don't understand this fully, especially when it's like beauty products, supplements, anything for babies, something that has like, weird ingredients or, something that you don't understand, you're highly unlikely going to buy it. And by leaving the content as it is, just, left in English or like some Chinglish, version of it in French or Italian or Dutch, you are skipping every third customer. You're not targeting the whole marketplace, and you're using a lot. And people like to see that when it's written in their own language. I mean, you can see like tons of studies regarding that. And, like Harvard Business Review also said that, you've been targeting every other person in this world if you are using only English as your, advertising language of your product.
I was going to say, there's 2 things that I thought about between that. I'm assuming, if I'm not a native English speaker, a native speaker of that language, that there is a significant lift or drop off, I should say, if I'm a person speaking French and I know that they clearly aren't speaking French, or they're using machine learning or whatever, they can tell that that's not really a translation, and you can see the discrepancies in it. And there's probably a big drop off in those kinds of sales versus if it's appropriately translated, whether it be vernacular or any sort of cadences and whatnot. Is that what you're talking about in terms of like a significant lift, like 20% drop off in sales because of that, and there has that big of a bump?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, sellers, they come to us and they're like, can you check the listings? Can you just tell me what's good, what's not? And I'm surprised by how many of them, like they're saying like, oh, we don't have any sales. Like this is like really not working out for us. I don't know what's wrong. And then you check the listing and it's Google Translate. And you're like, well, of course it's not getting any sales or clicks or whatever, because the listing doesn't make sense. And they're like, oh, really? And they're like, but we used professional machine service. And I'm like, well, I mean, just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense, right?
That's incorrect.
Yeah, it's incorrect. And people are not seeing sales. Or sometimes they're seeing sales, but that could be so much better. because like even if you use like a regular translation, like word by word, like translation agency, they're not going to give you keywords. Sometimes maybe it happens that just by doing that translation, it happens to be a keyword, and you're like, whoa, I have a keyword here. But that's like by pure accident. It's not because somebody sat down and did the keyword research. So definitely that's something that will increase your potential sales. Usually what we see after the translation is done, like localized and done keywords, we see anything between 20 to 25% instant increase in your sales and stuff. I got like some tons of like really good case studies, but that it's a no-brainer. If you put something that people understand, and if you put keywords that trigger the product when people type in that, why wouldn't you get sales, right? And that's just probably the only right way to do it, to just get someone who will do the keyword research and to do a decent text, and that's it. It doesn't have to be all like, I don't know, amazingly done, but if you want to get it done right, just get it with the keywords, because keywords are going to sell your product.
Absolutely. My second question, when I was thinking about some of the topics you were covering prior, is how much of a lift is there, or what kind of translation is there in terms of images, in the images you use? Is that something that you guys have looked into in terms of not just the language you're using, but in terms of the localized images that people are using, whether it comes to lifestyle imagery or putting it in your A+ content? Does that matter too, to an extent, of who you're using to represent your product, and where you're selling that product? Have you seen anything like that or done any research
Yeah,
along
like
those lines?
we don't do any like like
I know you don't do imagery, but
yeah, we don't do imagery and stuff like that, but like sometimes maybe for instance, like if you want to sell this product like in Norway, for instance, like I don't know, you would maybe want to show people in winter jackets and something that's going to be relatable to these people.
right.
Maybe you don't want to show like that they're like in a desert or something, like I don't know, like you kind of want to have a little bit more adjusting images, and people ask for this. They're like, would this image work? Like, what's wrong with this image? Sometimes there are like also like some maybe sensitive topics that you kind of will have to avoid. So I would say that people would want to localize their images, but I haven't seen maybe 1% of sellers that are actually localizing them according to the language and the target audience, the company they sell. The products that they don't even just the packaging is pretty much the same. You're just gonna have that seal and peel languages, like 5 different languages on the packaging. But the thing is that when it comes to main images, you can't localize them. You still have to have one main image for each and every country, unfortunately. But there is a way how you can actually have different, let's say, text on images, or even different images on different countries. And that is for now only like, in Vendor Central, this is possible, but in Seller Central, you'll have to be, you have to apply for, it's called a 360 Marketplace. It's an Amazon program. And it costs like 1,500 euros plus 0.8 or 1.5% of your revenue. So it does cost a lot of money. But this gives you the opportunity to change the images, like the main images, to have them customized. Both if you want like different lifestyle images, or if you want different text, like in different languages written on the main image. But that's it. That's the only way how you can do it. Apart from that, you can always play around with A+, and you can have completely different A+ content and stuff like that. But from what I've seen, also from like very successful sellers, they haven't customized their images to different countries. Some of them ask, like, would this be okay? And then, for instance, like I have a big team of like 82 people, and then I just go to my German team and I'm like, say, so what do you think about this? Would this work or not? Because that's like Vox Populi, like that's exactly what you need. Those are all native Germans. Or for instance, like we had one product that one seller was selling. It was like a T-shirt, and it was like Mr. and Mrs. T-shirt with like some like completely like shady smiley written on, like drawn on it. And he was like, we redid the whole listing. Their listing was fine. They were doing everything right. And they're like, but this product is just like not selling. And he was a US seller that was expanded to Germany. And then I just asked my whole team, I'm like, so what do you think about this product? Like, I don't know what's wrong. Like, maybe it's not a good product. And then they're like, well, like nobody would buy the shirt. Like, they were like, we don't like it. Like, it's not a good product for the German marketplace, So
Right.
sometimes like it's just not a good fit. Like, don't think that every bestseller in the States will be a bestseller in Europe, Sometimes like the mentality, the target audience will just not like your product. And that's like, you can do your research in like Facebook expert groups being like, hey, would you buy this product? Why not? You can just gonna do that on your own. You don't have to hire like an expert, whoever like does the product research. You can just do like all these small things and be like, okay, well, maybe I'm not gonna go to Germany with my t-shirts, because this seller, but he was so eager to sell the shirts. He was like, no, I can't do that. And we were like, well, sorry, dude, like you can sell it. Like, they're not gonna sell. So yeah, I don't know what happened at the end, but like that was the feedback for him. And literally every like 12 people was like, no, don't sell this in Germany. Very
Well, that's the
weird.
thing too. Well, and I think a lot of people taking that next step, they either unless you're a camera, for example, for a second, Jana, but I'll keep talking for now. So for this, in this capacity, if you're expanding internationally, a lot of people don't think about the cultural aspects of it, right? Like you said, the in terms of the aspect of if they're going to be moving internationally, they have to think about where people are like just talking about, or if they're going to be conversing in terms of some sort of language, or again, if it's religious aspects or if it's people aspects or anything like that. I think a lot of the notion that people don't take that next step and become that brand that's being localized in that capacity. So I do you expect a lot more people to start paying attention to those kinds of areas of being a brand and internationally speaking to those people, like you said, just asking or being sourceful in terms of that local culture, or just, hey, I'm going to keep it consistent, I'm just going to sell it how it is, and if they like it, they like it, they don't, they don't. Do you think that's where people will separate themselves, of taking that extra effort, that consideration, that hey, maybe this product isn't for me and I'm going to stay away and work with just people that see a use for it or see a use for the service, or would want to buy this, instead of trying to force it down people's throats and getting frustrated with that?
You know what? That's a really good question. And that's also what I've been asking, myself. Like, will people get it? Will people understand the whole point of this? Like, like when I talk about that, it's not only because I have the service and like I want you to use my service. Like, I have background in languages and like 10 years in e-commerce, and I kind of understand how both work. And I really want to help people make more money. But people don't have that mindset, like what I mentioned. Like, people really take care of the content in English because they're English speakers and they understand it, but who cares how it sounds in French? Like, I'm just gonna do it and like Google Translate will be fine, this will be good. Because people don't think about languages, and people don't think about that the target audience in Italy will be different than target audience in the US. That's the problem. So people don't think about these things. And I know, like, when, like after they hear like my podcast, or like when I talk live or whatever, a lot of sellers, they approach me, they're like, wow, I was not aware of that, or like I was not thinking about these things, but now I will think about that. And then they're like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. But I don't think that people will dedicate time or even think about these things without having someone to tell them like, hey, you really need to do this way because it's hurting your listings and your sales. So, that's kind of important. And unfortunately, I don't think that people will come around and be like, this is what we need, this is how this needs to get done. So unless something major happens in this world, I think that I will constantly just gonna try to
You're being your soapbox and fighting forever.
that it is important. And by doing machine translation or just doing it, like, who cares about this, that you are leaving so much money on the table. Because as I said, like, keywords and stuff like that, this is what's going to go get those click-through rates you want, and the sales but not the machines and other like stuff, because it's content. It's very, very important. So like, how much you work on your English content, this is how you should work on your other international content as well, because it's all very important. And what I said earlier, like Europe is so good, like UAE, Japan, all of that is very good, because like you don't have a lot of those rules that you do have in the US. Some of them that they that they have it over there, they don't survive the transition to Europe. So a lot of them are like never going to be implied or ever, like even like we'd still use caps lock like in bullets, and you can get away with that. It's not like they're gonna ban your listing, for instance, and there are tons of stuff like that. There are like so many things, and it's like so much easier once you get your product into inventory. It's so much easier to get sales and like, be there, be present without any restrictions than you are in the US marketplace. I think now, is being like a new seller, it's going to be harder than ever to sell on US Amazon.
Yeah. What's that advice that you give people though? Has it changed in the last 3 years? Now, what from 3 years ago, how are you telling people to approach now maybe becoming a new seller on Amazon, whether it be a brand off, like you said, you work with like CVS, Sephora, those are brands. As a new business owner, and as I have a product, I mean, they're selling direct to consumer, and I'm trying to bring it onto Amazon. What are your advice that you're giving people now, um, as they're starting out?
Well, as you're starting out first, like you really like you have to try harder to find a good product. And now, like when earlier it was like, yeah, you're gonna be like bestseller, no problem, because not many people are selling this product. Now, literally everybody's selling every single product there is. Like there's like thousands of like, if you think of the most stupid, like the stupidest product, you're gonna have like
10 of
200
them.
competitors. Like,
You said 200, yeah.
yeah, so now it's like so hard. You really have to understand the whole, like it's really hard to give advice. It's kind of really like an ungrateful business, like to advise someone like how to get started. But now with the supply chain issues and like with tons of competitors and stuff like that, you really, I think you have to spend a lot of time doing the research, and then also really having enough of resources to kind of go, let's go, like not to be just, I'm gonna like spend like this, and like you have to have like your stack, and you're gonna be like, okay, let's do it properly. Like, you have to kind of, like get someone who's going to, if you don't know how to do it, just let it go, and talk to someone who's like a consultant that helps people to start on Amazon, and just listen to the steps and like get everything ready, like be a nerd, like just gonna follow all of that and do it. And now it's easier than ever to find someone who will help you as a coach or like as a consultant, because earlier it was like maybe like this masterclass or that masterclass for like $49 or whatever. Now you can find like a real life person that will go through you, like with you through all this process. So I would suggest like getting someone who really knows what they're doing. Like, I don't know, I love like Sharon Evan, like she's great. Like, and when I have someone who wants to sell, like I tell them like talk to Sharon, she's amazing. So find something like that, somebody like that. If you don't want to do it, I would definitely suggest like spending a lot of time doing the product research. It's very, very hard now to find a good product. And I would definitely focus, if you don't want to like, deal with China, like made in the US is just like gold right now. Like, when people say like made in the US, it gives you the edge, it gives you the little edge over your other competitors who don't have the made in US product. It's definitely going to be a little bit more expensive, but like for unforeseeable future, I think that will be definitely your key feature, that it's made in US, for instance. And there are like tons of stuff like that you can incorporate, but you have to really kind of make this whole research, like you devoted a lot of time. People usually do that like as a side hustle in the beginning, like like 30 minutes a day or whatever. I say like you have to really dedicate a lot of time to that, because that definitely can be your full-time job. And I know a lot of people who quit their jobs and are like doing full-time now more than ever, especially because of the COVID and all the circumstances we're in. People are just going all in with this online business in any direction.
What's the thing that still you feel like is the biggest hurdle that most people are going to have to overcome next year? Is it supply and
I think
logistics?
supply chain, definitely. I think it's probably going to get even worse if possible. But I think that's going to be like such a bottleneck for a lot of things and a lot of problems. So I think that definitely, like, if you could, like, a lot of people like produce, like, do like local sourcing, because of like all the things defining the supply chain and everything. So people are turning from China, from Asia, to locally produced products, which I think is great. And I also love to, you should, like, support your local business, like in your own country, and like made in your country and stuff like that, and be proud of it. So I don't think that's necessarily bad. It's going to cost more, but I definitely think that overall, like on Amazon, it's gonna, like, they're gonna raise their fees for absolutely everything. So it's not going to be, as affordable as it was like 4 or 5 years ago. So everything is going to go up, like, price wise, and only the strongest will stay. I think it's going to be like a big cleanup from all those small sellers and people not dedicating enough time and money and not investing a lot, and all the real, like, Amazon core sellers are going to stay there, definitely. Which I also don't think it's going to be that bad to just gonna clean the space from all the little and unimportant sellers. For it's going to be good for both consumers and the others. So I don't think necessarily that's going to be a bad thing that Amazon
Right.
did.
I'm not hearing consolidation in terms of like only 10, 100 people or 100 companies are
Yeah.
selling on Amazon. I'm hearing, just people who are doing the rough tech. And again, I think that's where Amazon's tactics have tried to shift in that direction of, hey, we're just trying to do it so that if you're capable and able,
Yeah.
we're putting these barriers in place so that people don't skate by and they just like they bring down the house of cards, essentially. That
Exactly.
everything is going to be more solid and people can be consistent. They know what to expect. And because it was such a anything can happen and there's all these ways to go around the machine instead of like working with the machine, I think that there's a lot of consolidation because of that. And that's why they're trying to like rein everything in and say, we want to work with you. This is
Yeah.
how we see it's going to be protecting the end consumer, but also you, the seller. And then if people think that's too difficult, so be it. Go find your own direct to consumer, or go to Walmart, which you see a lot of people shifting. Like, all right, well, we're going to go to Walmart.
Yeah,
Walmart would do the same thing, but
they will. Yeah,
for now.
eventually they will. They will impose their own rules, and I agree. Like, what I said also at the beginning for the TOS, I think it's a good thing that they're going to be like, okay, you can't now manipulate ranking. It's not okay. We should all do it, like fair and square, whatever that means. But, I think it's okay that they, like, are not going to allow certain things, like black hats for like absolutely everything. So, yeah.
Jana, what, so in the few minutes we have left with you, what are you excited about? You said you kind of alluded to it. Is it the learnings from people and kind of like just being able to interact, or kind of the continuing education on finding good sellers, service providers to work with in 2022? What's you and your team's main focus for the upcoming year? Have you guys had that meeting of, all right, what's our plan for next year? And this is what we're going to be shooting for.
Yeah, well, we haven't had the meeting, but we will have it really soon. As soon as we can find some time for that. But,
you guys are so busy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, next year I'm really excited because we are going to build our own portal that we're going to use, which will make our lives easier. We're going to have like a different, as a customer, you could like log in and see where your project's at, if it's like proofreading or like doing keywords and stuff like that. For our translators, they could upload, download, and for our project managers, then have like the third kind of login for the portal. So I think that's like one of the major things that's happening inside of our company. So we're basically, next year is going to be all about optimizing our procedures, our services, everything. That's like number one priority, absolutely. And number two is like definitely I would love to kind of, we're starting doing something like that, like on social media, like creating like some really interesting posts that people would read, which actually lead to better understanding like why is localization so important, for instance, not just translation, but why is localization so important and why should people do it, like giving some like really cool examples, because also like when I talk, like if you just speak in theory, nobody will understand you until you get like an example that everyone will understand. Like for instance, like why is there no Starbucks in Australia? Because Starbucks did not localize to Australian coffee culture, which is similar to Italian one, and not to a US pour over and frappuccinos and chocolatinos and stuff like that. So people didn't like it over there because they didn't localize, and now they had to say goodbye to the whole continent. And there's no single Starbucks coffee shop in Australia. So that's localization. That's failing at localization. So, like through like some like really interesting text like that, where I'm trying to get people more and more educated on the topic and understand how they could hurt their business. So we would be striving to provide more and more of content like that. And I was just gonna be happy when sellers would schedule a call or be like, hey, we want to work with you because we think localization is important. And I'd be like, yes, somebody understands it. I would love to get more and more sellers like that, or even just like sellers or other service providers I could talk to on that topic. I'm really passionate about like languages, optimization, like e-commerce, everything, and I just kind of love talking about that because I think that is where the money is hiding at this point for a lot of different brands. So that's definitely going to be our focus in 2022. And yeah, definitely meeting you in person finally. And, just hanging out with fellow entrepreneurs and just, exchanging stories and like just having an insight of like how somebody built their company from nothing, and like having their like, listening to their struggles and like how they solve problems. That's the most beautiful part with like being part of this business, how you can exchange different opinions, how you can see how somebody's doing things. Maybe you will help someone by telling them something that you helped you, and that way we all grow and learn together, and that's the most rewarding thing in the world.
Right. Sharing information, but then also like building it up so that everyone wins and can do better. I agree 100%. I'm with you. I feel like that this is like a hidden area where optimization, if you do it correctly, you speak to that localized audience. Again, audience is not just like zeros and ones. It's so much more nuanced than that. It's more than just male, female, age, anything like that. It's culture. And that's so hard to crack. And people spend their entire lives studying just one culture, let alone how many are out there. Languages. This international wave of e-commerce and how you can speak across the globe. No one's ever had to dive into that, right? Because of you were just focused on your main street store and just your local community. But now because of e-commerce, you can my widget can be sold on the other side of the world. Now I have to start thinking about how to market to them. So it's all so fascinating. I'm in your corner. I'll be cheering with you, trying to get people on our soapbox of this is where the money is in optimizing in this world. So super excited. If people want to get in touch with you, Jana, I know we've connected and linked out to your profiles before, but YLT Translations is still still the best place to go if people want to learn more.
Definitely. Like you can go to our website, and we have like tons of really interesting content on our blog, like resources, tons of stuff like that. And if you guys have any questions, if you need any advice, if you maybe want us to do an audit of your listings for underperforming, maybe we can see what could be improved for absolutely free. You can definitely contact us on our website, or you can shoot me an email at jana@ylt-translations.com anytime.
Awesome. Very good. And of course, we'll make sure we send people your way. We've tagged you in all of our posts. If you have questions, if you're not watching this live again, go ahead and just send a message to Jana and her team. She gets back to you pretty quickly. I feel like you're never sleeping too. I feel like you're always up at random hours of the day when I'm working and don't know when you sleep, but that's the life of an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's, it's like this. It's like, yes, I'm the king of the world. I'm going to kill myself. I'm losing my company. I'm a billionaire. It's just like, it's a great ride. It's a joyride.
Just got to stay even keel the whole time. I agree with you. Yeah. It's hard to do that, but hey, thanks so much for hopping on again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we'll talk after show a little bit and just catch up a little bit more, but thanks so much. Again, and thank you everyone else for hopping on another episode of Crossover Commerce. Thanks to Jana from YLT Translations, of course, friend of the show, has hopped on a couple times, talking what she's seeing globally. Again, I would call her Mrs. Worldwide of right now. She sees things on a global perspective that I think a lot of people are missing. So hopefully you got to take away as an entrepreneur, if you're listening to this or if you're watching this as a business owner, start to think more culturally, start to think more localized. It might be a lot of work up front, but again, I think this is truly where a lot of there's an there's an amount of business that can be had there, and I think that's where a lot of growth can happen and be optimized. And not a lot of people are thinking that way. So as your business grows and your brand grows, this is where a lot of optimization can happen. A lot of touching different lives and different pocketbooks and different marketplaces. The world is literally your oyster now, and it could be easier to get on those marketplaces and in front of people you never were able to have had before. That being said, this is episode 1 of 2 this week. Again, here in the United States, we have a holiday this week, so we're going to take out the rest of the week. But tomorrow, we have a great episode of 186. I'm going to be speaking with Will Hare of Bellavix. We're going to be advertising based on product maturity and have him on and talk about that before we kind of take a quick break for Thanksgiving here in the United States, of course, and just kind of watch how e-commerce unfolds over the weekend with Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But we'll be back again next week. But again, thanks to Jana from YLT Translations. Get in touch with her. As she mentioned, all the links are in the show notes below, or if you're watching on social media, how to connect with her. I'm Ryan Cramer. This is Crossover Commerce. We'll catch you guys next time on another episode. Take care.